Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please rise? To honor the memory of those who have come before, we start this morning's ceremony with LAPD Piper Cliff Armas. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 819 recruit officer graduating class, led in by their drill instructor, Officer Manuel Ortega.
Uniform personnel, attention! Hoot!
Ladies and gentlemen,
Freeze it! Hoot! Uniform personnel, freeze it! Hoot!
please stand for the national anthem to be sung by Officer Roz Curry.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Uniform personnel, order! Hoot! Order! Hoot! Uniform personnel, ready, seats!
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Good morning. I'm Captain Tony Carranza. I'm the Commanding Officer Training Division. On behalf of the Chief of Police, Chief Michael Moore, and the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, I would like to welcome you to the recruit graduation for Class 819. At this time, Chief Moore and his inspection party will visually inspect the graduating class. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please now stand for the invocation to be delivered by Department Chaplain Monsignor Frank Hicks.
Heavenly Father, all creation comes from your wellspring of your benevolence. In your wisdom, you have sustained and empowered these men and women assembled here today. These committed individuals have completed a rigorous regimen of preparation in order to qualify as sworn peace officers of the Los Angeles police community. The talent, tenacity, and tact which each officer has exhibited will be of crucial importance to their departments, to themselves, and to their communities, which they have sworn to protect and serve. Grant these police officers the courage to confront the unknown with courage and strength, and the defiance to endure and persevere. Father, replenish the wellspring of wholesome enthusiasm and dedication from which these officers may continue to draw vitality. And Father, may they always remember your challenging mandate to maintain peace and good order in our communities. Lastly, Father, we lift up the dedicated families and the Academy staff who have supported these officers in their sworn enforcement journey. For all this, we declare thanksgiving and praise. Amen.
Uniform personnel. Ready? Cease.
At this time, the class president, Officer Jesus Pineda, will deliver the class message.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Class 819's Police Academy graduation. I'm Officer Jordan Cummings, and I am honored to stand before Mayor Eric Garcetti, Chief Michael Moore, distinguished guests, family, and friends as the class leader of Class 819 to speak about our 6-month journey as recruits to having the honor of assuming the title of Sworn Police Officer for the great city of Los Angeles. This journey was not easy. It was stressful, physically demanding, and very challenging. 6 months ago, we showed up on these very grounds, not knowing what to expect, what was to come, and most importantly, who we would become. We arrived individually, and within an hour, we became a team. Now we stand together as brothers and sisters in blue. Although this accomplishment is very rewarding, we can't take all the credit. None of us would be where we are today without the love and support of our family and friends. On behalf of Class 819, we thank you for supporting us during these times. I understand we may have been busy studying or making a mess, shining our boots every day, but you are what kept us going when we needed to finish that last lap and that one more push-up. You are and will continue to be our motivation for the rest of our careers, and we know it's not easy, so we are very grateful for all that you do. Class 819, we experienced many eye-opening situations when we started this journey, such as not knowing how to react to scenarios, realizing how much we didn't know about the law, firearms, report writing, defending ourselves, or how powerful our voice could be. Here we are 6 months later with skills, knowledge, and understanding of all these subjects. We would like to thank our instructors, Officer Silvestri, Bustamante, Odom, Schmeider, Briggs, Edwards, Pack, Sanfilippo, Daroon, and Johnson. With your teachings as subject matter experts, you have guided and helped us build a foundation to succeed in the field as police officers. Sergeant Giannis and Sergeant D'Angelo, we thank you for showing us how important it is to pay attention to detail. You were tough on us because you wanted us to be prepared for when we go out into the field. Finally, Drill Instructor Ortega, sir, you set expectations far beyond our reach. It's because you wanted us to continue to reach for these expectations our whole career. You emphasize that the academy is the easy part. Within the next few days, each and every one of us will be out on patrol, handling real situations with our field training officers who will continue where you left off. Thank you for instilling the core values and challenging us. You molded us into the young police officers we are today, and we're going to make you proud. Class 819, we've graduated the academy. In other words, we have made it to the starting line. Our journey has merely begun. Tomorrow, we hit the streets protecting and serving the communities of Los Angeles. We have had our struggles throughout this journey, but today we stand strong. Each and every one of us ready to take on the challenges. I couldn't ask for a stronger team to be a part of. We will forever be brothers and sisters in blue. I will leave you with this quote by Winston Churchill. Never give in, never, never, never. In nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in except the convictions of honor and good sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Cummings. And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the Mayor of the City of Los Angeles, the Honorable Mayor Garcetti.
Good morning, class 819, and a very good morning to everybody who is here on this beautiful Los Angeles day. For those of you visiting from out of town, you probably think this is a beautiful, warm Los Angeles day. I want to thank the Los Angeles Police Department for the blankets and the space heaters they provided everybody. For those of us from Los Angeles, this is, I think, the coldest graduation I can remember. But it is a day that is filled with incredible warmth between family members and loved ones. We've got, I think, the loudest cheerleader I've ever heard here today. Congratulations, you know. It took you only 4 times to get us all there, but you did it. Folks who have helped these men and women through tough moments when they had no sleep, didn't know whether they'd make it through, wondered whether they could learn, whether these incredible instructors who molded them into the police officers that they are today, whether they would let up. It was this community that collectively today graduates with this amazing class. On behalf of this City of Angels, which I'm so honored to lead, 4 million souls that call Los Angeles home, part of a 19 million person region, now the 3rd largest municipal economy in the world, a place where we can find somebody who speaks our language, who worships God like us, who comes from where our parents came from, but also right next to us, somebody who's totally different from us each and every day. And somehow it works. We live here together to create an amazing city. You now are entrusted with the safekeeping of this town. Led by Chief Michael Moore and an incredible command staff, the civilian oversight, our president of our police commission you'll hear from in a moment, Eileen Decker, my administration, led by our deputy mayor, Jeff Gorell, and others, all of us are focused on how we can make sure you can do your job best. First and foremost, you today become enforcers of the law. And as I talked to many of you, and I asked you what was the toughest part of this, the number one answer I got from you was learning the law. And it's true. It is complex, it is complicated, it is a result of years, even now more than a century, of law writing at the national, state, and local level. But it's now in your hands. It's not that you are the law. In fact, I want you to remember who you are as a person today. Because while you put on and you pin on this badge, it's not your badge. It's a badge that's been worn by people before. You will pass it on to an officer after you. And it represents the responsibility, the trust you have been given by your bosses, the people of Los Angeles. Just as I have a title, Mayor of Los Angeles, that's not who I am. I was at my daughter's school the other day, and one of her friends said, "You're the mayor of LA." I said, "No, I'm Maya's father. My job is the mayor." And remember who you are, whose son or daughter you are, whose boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse you are, whose parent you are, whose neighbor you are. This defines who you are as a human being. Your job now is a police officer to enforce the law. But second, and equally, maybe even more important than enforcing the law, is promoting our values. Now, in this day and age, we're told that we don't share values much anymore. We define ourselves by our titles before we learn who we are as people. They might be our job title. And so some will see police officer And some will, before they get to know you and know whether you're a good person or not, will love you. Others will hear you're a police officer and will doubt you or suspect you. We put Republican or Democrat before people's names. We put where they live or the color of their skin or their culture before. It is your job to humanize yourself every single day on this job and to promote the values of this city. And that's what I want to spend the rest of my time speaking about for a minute. Los Angeles is truly a unique place, especially at this moment in history. First and foremost, we stand for freedom. This has always been a place that you can come to and reinvent yourself. Whether you're lucky enough, like me and many of us, to be born here, and I'm a fourth-generation product of this place, or whether you're smart enough to have moved here. And this class is full of both. We have people who've come from South Africa and South Korea, from Mexico, who have lived in Lebanon, people who've come from Hawaii and Florida, but also those who've grown up here in the San Fernando Valley and in South Los Angeles, in Boyle Heights, here in the heart of Los Angeles. I hope you've been able to learn from each other. Those who have the outsider's eyes to Los Angeles have felt that freedom of what it means to come to this town and to be embraced by it. Those of you who grew up here, to feel that freedom that, yes, I can be anything I want. I could be in a career for 20 years and decide to become a police officer. Our second value after freedom is creativity. We know that. This is probably the most creative collection of human beings on the face of the earth. Whether it's in Hollywood or our technology industry, whether it's folks that are shooting rockets into space and one day will land them on Mars, this is a place full of creative people, and that goes for this profession too. The best police officers I've seen are disciplined, they know their work, they know the law, but they speak of their humanity and they use their creativity because every situation is different and it demands that you look at it anew. Talking to one of the Marines in your class, and we've got, I think, 6 folks who have served this country in the armed forces. It's very different. Yeah, give them a round of applause, sure. I served 12 years in the military as well, and it is a very different mission now. Whereas before, we'd go other places to defend the heartland where it's all about hard charging. Now it's about engaging, de-escalating, protecting the same place that you live in, not some foreign lands. It is now a time for us to see what we can do with that freedom to make sure you bring creativity to every single job that you have. And the last piece is I think this is a city that embodies a sense of belonging. You now belong to this department. You now belong to this city family of 40,000 city employees, and I hope you get a chance not only to embrace the civilians that work in this department, just as you do your fellow brothers and sisters who wear a badge, your firefighters who you will work with, the civilians who are part of this city, from our Department of Water and Power employees all the way down to somebody who works in a park, because they're going to be critical for your job and your work. But more than you belonging, this is a city that says to everybody, we don't care where you come from, you belong. And at a moment when so many people in this country and in this world are working to figure out where we don't belong and why we don't belong, you can embody that sense with somebody that you're interacting with on the street, with somebody who's living in a tent, with somebody who's been the victim of a vicious crime, with somebody who is a suspect, whose life you can transform with that moment that you have and that interaction. So embrace those 3 values and promote them every single day, of freedom, of creativity, and of belonging. And you'll have the most incredible career. Just the next decade alone, you'll see a couple Super Bowls you might work at. The Olympics and Paralympics will come here. You'll see new museums open. You'll see us win this war against homelessness, which we're engaging everybody on, the humanitarian crisis of this moment. You'll be a part of helping young people graduate and go to college and maybe become a police officer. One of you might be up here looking at a class in a decade or so as a command officer or captain in one of our area divisions. Each one of you has the opportunity to write your own script here in this great city. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of this city, the support that you have gotten from each one of your loved ones, and every single day wear that badge knowing that you are protecting the City of Angels. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the President of the Los Angeles Board of Police Commissioners, Eileen Decker.
Good morning, class. Mayor Garcetti, Chief Moore, Chief Rambo of the Airport Police, law enforcement officers, families and friends, but most especially Class 819. It's truly an honor to be here today to represent the Board of Los Angeles Police Commissioners as we mark this momentous occasion. We all have something to celebrate here today. Graduates, obviously, you are here to celebrate the fact that you did it. You made it through. You successfully concluded a rigorous training program, and you have shown that you have what it takes, physically, academically, emotionally, and most importantly, morally, to be a police officer in the city of Los Angeles. Family and friends, you're here today to celebrate your talented loved ones, and I hope all of your hearts are filled with pride today. The support you have given them has been absolutely critical to their success. Thank you for being there for them, and thank you for continuing to be there for them in the months and years ahead. You are their rock, and the city of Los Angeles owes each of you a great debt of gratitude. The rest of us are here today also to celebrate something truly special. We're here to celebrate the first class of police officers to graduate from this academy in this new year, and the first in this new decade. Last year, we came to this field many times to celebrate the fact that hundreds of dedicated men and women answered one of the highest callings in public service. And those individuals followed graduates, a long line of academy graduates who for decades have walked through those doors and have served our city. So graduates, today you follow in the footsteps of those great public servants, all of whom have taken this step knowing full well that in the course of fulfilling that role, they may face danger and even life-threatening situations. That takes tremendous commitment, bravery, personal integrity, and it rightly deserves to be celebrated today. Graduates, in answering your call to join the law enforcement community, you have pledged to protect and serve and to revere the law, to treat all Angelenos with dignity and respect. And there's one more aspect of the call to law enforcement that I'd like you to think more about today, and that is the call to be leaders. I understand that in this moment, you may not be thinking of yourself as leaders in this city. You may be thinking, I'm just a rookie. And yes, in fact, you do have a lot more to learn as you go on the streets in the months and years ahead. But even though you are new, you can and you indeed are now leaders of our city. It is critically important that you see yourselves in that role, because the people in our community will see you that way immediately. From your very first day at work, on your very first call, they will look to you for guidance and for help and for leadership. They're not going to ask you how many days or weeks or hours you may have been on the job. They want your guidance and they want your counsel, and they need you to lead them to safety. So I urge you to always remember to take this opportunity to lead. And as you do, I like to reflect, and I ask you to reflect on something that author Maya Angelou once said, that people may forget the precise words you said to them, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Prove your leadership by making all Angelenos feel respected, by making them feel that you recognize their dignity, by making them safe. Now, of course, we all recognize that isn't always going to be easy. People are not always going to treat you with dignity and respect. It could be because you've met them on the absolute worst day of their lives. Perhaps they're suffering from mental illness. Perhaps they're addicted to drugs, experiencing homelessness, or they've witnessed a great tragedy. But in those moments, in those precise moments when you're not being treated with respect, it is perhaps the most critical time for you to be a strong leader, for you to remember the training you received here at this academy. Remember the oath that you took, and remember why it is you became police officers. And I urge you to remember this very day. And if you do, I am confident that you will always reflect the values and traditions of the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Airport Police Department. And of course, that is what is now expected of you as law enforcement professionals. Class, thank you for being men and women of exemplary character. Thank you for choosing this path for all of us who live in Los Angeles. Thank you for serving our city. And on behalf of all 5 members of the Board of Police Commissioners, please accept our heartfelt congratulations and welcome to the city family. Thank you.
Guiding, supporting, and challenging every member of this class during the 6-month quest to become a police officer is a hand-picked, highly motivated cadre of law enforcement training professionals. Without their patience, passion, and dedication to duty, this graduation would not be taking place. Would the 819 instructional staff please stand and be recognized? Now let's take a moment to acknowledge the geographic focal leaders of this department and the Los Angeles World Airport Police Department. These men and women are tasked with leading these new officers as they provide patrol services to the mosaic of Los Angeles diverse communities and the specialized area in and around the airport. Would our area patrol and airport captains please stand? I'd now like to introduce our command staff and honored guests. Deputy Chief Martin Baeza, Commanding Officer, Personnel and Training Bureau, and his guest, Chief Roberto Villaseñor, former Chief of Police of the Tucson Police Department and current member of the Baltimore Police Department Consent Decree Monitor. Please hold your applause until the end of each row. Thank you. Very enthusiastic. I love it. Police Administrator 3, Gloria Gruby, Commanding Officer, Administrative Services Bureau, and her son, Los Angeles Police Officer Jonathan Gruby, 77th Division. Assistant Chief B. Gurmala, Director, Office of Support Services, and her guest, Police Administrator Sandra Russell, Commanding Officer of LAPD Evidence and Property Management Division. Mr. Richard T. Fank, Executive Director, Los Angeles Police Commission. Commissioner Eileen Decker, President, the Los Angeles Police Commission. The Honorable Mayor Eric Garcetti, Mayor of the City of Los Angeles. Chief of Police Michael Moore, the Los Angeles Police Department, and his guest, Dan Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy is the Senior Vice President of U.S. Security Operations for Unibail Rodamco Westfield, where he oversees all aspects of security for Westfield's 32 U.S. centers. Mr. Kennedy served over 20 years with the Federal Bureau of Investigation in various assignments, including the Administrative Special Agent in charge of the Los Angeles Field Office and 7 years with the Oklahoma Police Department. He's an active supporter of the department and a member of the Board of Directors of Los Angeles Police Foundation. Assistant Chief Bob Arcos, Director, Office of Operations, and his guest, Mr. Raymond Kill, member of the Police Permit Review Panel, and his wife, Carolyn Kill, Los Angeles Police Department Officer Emilio Perez Villalobos, Training Coordination Unit, uncle of Graduate Officer Kevin Perez. Monsignor Frank Hicks, Department Chaplain. Captain Peter Casey, Commanding Officer, In-Service Training Division. Captain Tony Carranza, Commanding Officer, Training Division. Sergeant Eden D'Angelo, Officer in Charge, 819 Recruit Class. A round of applause for them, if you would, please. Chief Cecil Rambo, Los Angeles World Airport Police. Assistant Chief Tyrone Stallings, Los Angeles World Airport Police. Assistant Chief John Wallace, Los Angeles World Airport Police. Commander Michael Oreb, Commanding Officer, Transit Services Group. Deputy Chief Regina Scott, Commanding Officer, Operations South Bureau. Public Information Director 2, Josh Rubenstein, Public Communications Group. Deputy Chief Peter Zarcone, Commanding Officer, Counterterrorism and Special Operations Bureau. Inspector General Mark Smith, Office of the Inspector General. Deputy Chief Bob Greene, Chief of Staff, and his guests, Police Administrator Anne-Marie Sauer, Commanding Officer, Fiscal Operations Division, and Deputy City Attorney Tina Shim. Deputy Chief George Rodriguez, Commanding Officer, Operations Valley Bureau, and his guests, Mr. Gregory Martian, Director of Public Safety and Special Assignments for the 5th Council District of the City of Los Angeles, his wife, Silva Martian, and his mother, Marina Martian. Police Administrator, Elena Nijoa Azucan, Commanding Officer, Personnel Division, and her guest, Deputy Director John Gutierrez, Veterans Services, JVS Southern California. Vice President David Fryer, William H. Parker Foundation. Commissioner Niranjan Khalsa, Human Relations Commission. A round of applause for them, if you would, please. Commander Corey Palka, Assistant Commanding Officer, Operations West Bureau, and his guest, Brian Pendleton, Commissioner, Board of Police and Fire. Commander Mark Reyna, Commanding Officer, Traffic Group, and his guest, Mr. Bobby Cagle, Director, Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services. Commander Ann Clark, Commanding Officer, Detective Services Group. Commander Alan Hamilton, Assistant Commanding Officer, Operations Valley Bureau. Commander Vito Palazzolo, Commanding Officer, Employee Relations Group. Commander Dan Randolph, Assistant Commanding Officer, Internal Affairs Group. Dr. Luann Pinnell, Director, Police Training and Education, and her guests, Shannon Sullivan, Director of the Consent Decree Implementation Unit, Baltimore Police Department, and Dr. Gary Cordner, Director, Education and Training Division, Baltimore Police Department. Police Administrator, Elizabeth Rhodes, Director, Office of Constitutional Policing and Policy. Commander Michael Rimkunis, Assistant to the Director, Office of Operations. And Captain Vic Davalos, Assistant Commanding Officer, Operations Central Bureau. A round of applause, if you would, for our command staff and honored guests.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming the Chief of the Los Angeles Police Department, Chief Myko Moore.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. It is a beautiful morning here in Los Angeles, as Mayor Garcetti indicated, a bit chilly for us Angelinos, but it keeps us fresh, and it is certainly a fresh day for each of you as graduates here, and congratulations. Before I move through my remarks, I'd like for all of us to take a moment. Each member of this academy class and a number of officers, including myself, are wearing a mourning band, a black band on our badge. This is a tradition of law enforcement as we honor an individual who we lose in the service of our great city or in our profession. This past Sunday, in the Valley Village area of the San Fernando Valley, a young deputy off duty named Detective Amber Least, as she sat in her vehicle, she observed two older individuals, man and woman, attempting to cross the street. It's a simple Sunday morning. It's a busy area, busy intersection, and one of those two folks fell. And Amber, by herself in her vehicle at that traffic signal, took it upon herself to render aid. She exited her vehicle. She came to the aid of those two individuals and escorted them to safety. And as she left them safely on a bench and attempted to return to her vehicle, unfortunately, a motorist on a green signal struck and killed her. She lost her life in the service of this city. And today, in honor and in tribute to her, I would ask each of you for a moment of silence for her family, her friends, and for the legacy of service that she leaves with us all. May the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Detective Amber Least rest in peace. In transitioning into all of you today, welcome to the home of the Los Angeles Police Department. Families and friends, to our young recruits. This is the grounds that we began our academy in 1935. And since that time, it has served us well in the training and development of not just our recruits, but in the lifelong learning that men and women in this profession go through. I think its buildings and its symbols and artifacts represent well the values of American policing, but also the evolution and how we in the 21st century, and as we enter this new decade in serving Angelenos, how we have changed and how we recognize the values of building trust and the confidence of our community that this profession is here and one of service. I want to thank you for being here, and I also want to welcome you to your second new home, because these grounds, as members of this department, and certainly as family members you're now welcome here and invited to enjoy our grounds, whether it be our swimming pool, the barbecues, moments of reflection and solitude in a busy city in our rock garden. We're proud of these grounds, but we're also proud of it being our home, and we ask you to feel free to be here and enjoy it with your young recruits. But I also want to say thank you, as the mayor did, and Ms. Decker, for the service that you have performed in raising these young men and women, and being families and friends of them, and helping shape their lives, and doing everything possible to ensure that you're raising a person of values, of character, who has a heart of service. This is a profession that demands a great deal of physical capabilities, of emotional intelligence, of how to drive properly, how to know the law, how to think through problems, how to be able to communicate effectively. But most importantly, it is a profession that draws upon a person's strength of their inner character. And that is something that as family members, you are responsible for having achieved this. And each of you, I say thank you for that love and support and guidance in development of these individuals and the character that they have, as well as your own personal choices as recruits that you've made along the way. But to the family members, I ask you this, most importantly, that as you've developed them all these years, you're not done. In fact, today it's a new chapter for them and a new chapter for you, because I'm going to ask for your love and support of them in the years ahead. These young graduates are going to grow into police officers in a profession that's going to challenge them, but it's also going to put tremendous pressures and demands on them. And critically important to me and to this agency and to our trust of the communities in which we serve is that you stay connected. Have them talk with you about what they see and do. Remind them of their strengths, the value of their character, the importance of their work, and why they became a police officer. We work on that as well, but it's your strength and your encouragement and your involvement that will really carry the day. Now, I'm going to have a few words with these recruits and some instructions and some guidance. But before I do that, today is an opportunity for me to recognize and for you to hear from an individual who has given his entire life to public service and will soon be leaving us as he retires and moves on to his next chapter. But before I start that, I want to recognize another individual, a woman who was on part of this department for more than 40 years, has seen the evolution and transformation of this department, has seen the role of women and law enforcement evolve and become at a proper seat and the right member of a peer rather than a subordinate or some lesser individual. And that is Ms. Gloria Gruby, as our highest ranking civilian police administrator, and I'd like for Gloria to stand and be recognized for her service and dedication to the City of Angels. So the helicopter was not for Miss Gruby, but standing next to her is her son, Jonathan, and Miss Gruby leaves us with not just a great legacy, but she leaves us entrusted to us her son in a career that he has launched very admirably. And I have a great deal of admiration for his start in Rampart, his presence in 77th, and work he does each day. Gloria, thank you. Thank you for what you've done for us and the challenges. And to the audience that might ask why I'm asking this next individual to speak and not Ms. Gruby, is that she refused to speak to this group. So if you have an opportunity before you leave, please find her and ask her for her words of insight. I've known her for 20 years. I've never been able to get her to follow instruction, and I didn't expect I would today either. This next individual is a man that I have known and respected for more than 2 decades. He has served more than 4 decades to this city. He is my chief of staff. We met each other during a very tumultuous time in Los Angeles history, and during a period of time in which the city was at crossroads relative to a path forward. And he stepped into that void, and since that time, he and I have worked alongside in many positions. He is a person of great integrity, a person who is humble, but a person who knows his craft well. He has a life dedicated to God, his family, and this department. He has his orders and priorities right. And I think this morning that it would be of extreme value for each of these recruits to pay a little attention to what he's about to tell you. Would Deputy Chief Bob Greene please step to the podium?
Good morning. Congratulations to this recruit class and your families. You're entering a very, very rewarding career. I have been blessed. In the last 40 plus years with this organization, I have had the opportunity to work with some extraordinary people and have been fortunate to work some extraordinary assignments. But of all those of the 40 years, the thing that's been most meaningful to me is the community. The thing that has, I will always remember is the true contact I made with community members and how I have matured. So what I'd ask you is that the maturing process of law enforcement can be difficult. For you, success is to lead with your heart and to love everybody that you meet in the street. And that can be really difficult at times. Many times we graduate from this academy and we want to go do, quote unquote, God's work. And for law enforcement officers, that can be about the use of handcuffs, because those are the tools that we have provided you. However, success is connecting with every individual you meet and empathizing with them. What would you do if that was a member of your family, if that homeless person, or that gang member, that individual you're about to put handcuffs on and take to jail for robbery or for murder? Every contact you have reflects on not only the 10,000 sworn men and women of this organization, but the other 3,000 civilians and law enforcement officers across this country. So day to day, as you get out of that black and white and bring calm to crisis, lead with your heart. Lead with your character. And you will enjoy a long, 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 very rewarding career. This morning, I'd like to thank my peers, the folks that I have had the honor to work with. And I'd like to thank Chief Mike Moore for his leadership and what he's given to this organization and for the opportunities he has provided me. So God bless you. Enjoy a very rewarding career with the Los Angeles Police Department.
So thank you, Bob. I appreciate those words, and even more importantly, thank you for your service and your dedication. Look forward to our continued friendship and your counsel and your leadership as he moves to the Chief Security Officer for the Metropolitan Transit Authority, which is his responsibilities will be to oversee the policing and security services for the bus and rail for this entire county and region. And I look forward to his role there as we are part of a public safety network together with that agency and the Los Angeles Police Department and Sheriff's Department. Now back to the recruits. I'm going to curtail a few of my remarks that I traditionally give because Bob sucked up all the time. Yeah, no. Really, just a couple of remarks. First, I asked each of you a few moments ago why you wanted to become a Los Angeles police officer or a World Airport police officer. And each of you gave me a rationale, a couple words of indication about service, dedication, something bigger than yourselves, a variety of reasons. Each of them was valid because they're your reason. Before you leave here today, I want you to write that down on a piece of paper, whatever it was. If you don't quite remember, just look into your heart and remind yourself of why you've gone through this journey and what you're prepared for and why you do this, why you're entering this profession. On that piece of paper, put that someplace, on a locker, door, bedside, mirror in your bathroom, wherever you see it each day. I want you to read that piece of paper each day. Always be true and never lose sight of why you became a police officer. As Mayor Garcetti indicated, the badge that you wear is not yours any more than the badge I wear is mine. We're privileged to wear this badge. Our public, our community, Los Angeles has given us this privilege and entrusted us with its responsibilities. Recognize its power and responsibilities and never abuse it. The ends will never justify the means, and you cannot break the law to enforce the law. As Ms. Decker indicated, you'll see people in the coming days in some of their best moments, triumphant, but many, many more times they're worse. You'll see people who are engaged in fights and struggles over matters of great importance, but many more times matters of impulse and silliness. And you'll be the person called to bring calm to chaos. There'll be other days in which they're very routine. In fact, maybe even boring. And each of those days are opportunities for you to be called upon into this life of service. Someone's need for assistance, an opportunity for us to deepen the public's trust and confidence, and in each instance, my expectation, our expectation, that you treat a person fairly, no matter where they were born, their skin color, or their temperament. In figuring out how to do that, rely on three things: your training, your partner, and most importantly, that recurring value we keep talking about, which is your character. Because as you go out as the face of the Los Angeles Police Department, how you go about your work shapes and molds us. Now, this can sound pretty daunting. You've heard a lot from speakers, whether it be the mayor, the president of the police commission, myself, or retiring Deputy Chief Greene. But I know that you're up for it. And I'll tell you that every man and woman behind me who has worn this badge will tell you there's no greater reward in life than to know your efforts are making a difference. This weekend and on Monday, the nation celebrates the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. He once said that life's most persistent question is, what are you doing for others? Let your work each day answer that question. Answer that question to the world and answer that question to yourself. And if you do that, as I'm sure Chief Greene would tell you, and every person in this profession, you answer it not only for the world and yourself, but you answer that seeking of meaning, the fact that, does my life matter? And let me assure you, it does. Be proud of what you accomplished here today. Bring honor to your family, to this department, and to the sacrifice of the 211 men and women who have lost their life in the service of this great city. May God bless you and keep you safe. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief Moore. And I would like to take a moment now and acknowledge and thank our Master of Ceremonies, Michael Ellington, and our LAPD Concert Band, directed by Maestro Richard Allen, and our Executive Director, Jim Starr. Please join me in acknowledging them, please. Now, Drill Instructor Ortega, prepare the class to receive their diplomas. I would like to introduce Sergeant Isabel Llanes, who will assist Chief Moore in the presentation of diplomas.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming the newest police officers in the City of Angels, presenting the graduating officers of Class 819. Class Leader, Officer Jordan Cummings. Officer Cummings proudly served his country as an airman in the United States Air Force. Officer Cesar Barba. Officer Barba will be joined on stage by his son, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Deputy Anthony Barba, and his sister, Long Beach Police Department Detective Elizabeth Barba. Officer Ricardo Barba. Officer Barba will be joined on stage by his sister, Long Beach Police Department Detective Elizabeth Barba, and his nephew, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department Deputy Anthony Barba, and his brother, graduating officer Cesar Barba. Officer Relis Benitez. Officer Josely Canizales Estrada. Officer Vanessa Dominguez. Officer Bra Dowse. Officer Jaime Fuentes. Officer Ilse Garcia. Officer Garcia will be joined on stage by our domestic partner, Los Angeles Police Department, Officer Raul Hernandez, Mission Division. Officer Desiderio Gonzalez Mariscal. Officer Gonzalez Mariscal proudly served his country as a Marine in the United States Marine Corps. Officer Alicia Greene. Officer Whitney Greer. Squad Leader, Officer Ruth Guardardo. Officer James Hare. Officer Hare will be joined on stage by his father, retired Los Angeles Police Department, Lieutenant Steve Hare, his brother, Los Angeles Police Department, Detective Matthew Hare, Mission Division, and his brother, Santa Clara Sheriff's Department, Deputy Mark Hare. Class Secretary, Officer Karina Heffelfinger. Officer Zachary Ikeda. Officer Wissam Ismail. Officer Yannick Jackson. Officer Jackson proudly served his country and his airmen in the United States Air Force. Officer Tukman Kachadorian. Officer Alexander Kill. Officer Chung Lee. Class Vice President, Officer Megan Liddy. Officer Liddy proudly served his country as a soldier in the United States Army. She will be joined on stage by her mother, Los Angeles Police Department, Officer Sandra Liddy, Valley Bureau. Officer Bonin Liu. Officer Liu proudly served his country as an airman in the United States Air Force. Officer Luis Luna. Squad Leader, Officer Alexander Martinez. Officer Joshua Masip. Officer Laura Mendoza. Squad Leader, Officer Myko Moore. Officer Moore will be joined on stage by his father, retired Los Angeles Police Department Officer Barry Moore. Class Guide, Officer Anthony Murillo. Officer Murillo will be joined on stage by his father, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Lieutenant Sergio Murillo, and his sister, Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Deputy Gabriela Murillo. Officer Catherine Nguyen. Officer Nathan Niendorf. Officer Kevin Perez. Officer Perez will be joined on stage by his uncle, Los Angeles Police Department Officer Emilio Perez from Training Division. Class President, Officer Jesus Pineda. Officer Zachary Rivera. Officer Bernard Robbins. Officer Jessica Solano. Squad Leader, Officer Matthew Tracy. Officer Linero V. And now joining Chief Moore for the presentation of the diplomas for our graduates from the Los Angeles World Airport Police, Chief Cecil Rambo Jr. Officer Paula Costa. Officer Juan Genizati. Officer Genizati served his country as a Marine in the United States Marine Corps. Officer Rashawn Moore. Officer Jose Rodriguez. Officer Rodriguez will be joined on stage by his uncle, Los Angeles World Airport Police, Canine Officer Alfonso Lagos. Thank you, Chief Rambo. Thank you, Chief Moore. The department would like to recognize individuals from Class 819 who have distinguished themselves through the past 24 weeks of training. The first award is for top academic achievement. The officer who achieved the highest academic average for Class 819 is Officer Matthew Tracy. The second award is for top achievement in physical conditioning. The best officer in physical conditioning for Class 819 is Officer Bernard Robbins. The third award is for the top officer in arrest and control. The best officer in arrest and control for Class 819 is Officer Zachary Ikeda. The fourth award is for top achievement in weapons proficiency. The top gun who attained the highest qualifying scores for Class 819 is Officer Myko Moore. The fifth award is the Outstanding Driver's Award. The officer who had the best overall performance in driving for Class 819 is Officer Megan Liddy. The sixth award is the Sergeant Frank Myko Award for Tactical Proficiency, named in the honor of the late Sergeant Frank Myko. This award is earned by the officer who attained the top proficiency in tactics. The officer who achieved the best overall performance in tactics for Class 819 is Officer Matthew Tracy. At this time, we would like to acknowledge Class Leader Officer Jordan Cummings for guiding, mentoring, and leading Class 819 for the past 24 weeks of this academy. The following awards will be presented by Chief Michael Moore. The Human Relations Award is presented to the graduate who demonstrated their commitment to the Los Angeles Police Department's community policing philosophy. Joining Chief Moore to present this award is Human Relations Commissioner Nurjan Khalsa. The recipient of Human Relations Award for Class 819 is Officer Joshua Masip. Thank you, sir. The Los Angeles Police Commission Memorial Recognition Award is dedicated to the memory of Officer Tina Cabrat, who was killed in line of duty on February 11th, 1991. The award is presented to the recruit officer who was the most inspirational officer throughout the 6 months of training at the Los Angeles Police Academy. Presenting this award with Chief Moore is Los Angeles Police Commissioner Eileen Decker. Today's recipient for Class 819 is Los Angeles World Airport Police Officer Rashawn Moore. Chief William H. Parker led the Los Angeles Police Department for 16 years. After his death in 1966, the William H. Parker Foundation was created in his honor to provide educational grants and equipment to the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department. The William H. Parker Award recognizes overall excellence and is awarded to the #1 officer in this class. This officer receives a gift certificate from the Los Angeles Police Revolver and Athletic Club and a 1-year membership to the Police Officers Association of Los Angeles County. Joining Chief Moore to present the membership and the awards are the Director of the Office of Support Services, Assistant Chief B. Grimala, and Vice President David Fryer from the Parker Foundation. The #1 officer and recipient of the William H. Parker Award for Class 819 is Officer Jordan Cummings. Thank you, Chief Moore. At this time, please allow me to reintroduce the Commanding Officer Training Division, Captain Tony Carranza.
All right, thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the benediction to be delivered by our Department Chaplain, Monsignor Frank Hicks.
May the Lord's blessing follow you on your assigned journey. May you find a safe haven along the pathway of life. May your decisions be guided by your humanity and wisdom. May your hearts and lives always reflect the love of truth and righteousness. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine warmly upon you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift you up in his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen. God bless Class 819. God bless.
Thank you, Monsignor Hicks. In a few moments, you'll witness two traditions performed by the graduating class. First, the class will share their class chant. The class chant is designed by their recruits to demonstrate their class pride and to motivate them to work as a team during their time in the academy. The second tradition you will witness when the class tosses their hats in the air, signifying they have graduated. This moment marks the end of their academy training and the beginning of their careers in law enforcement. I would like to thank everyone for attending the graduation and would like to wish all the graduates the very best in their law enforcement careers. Now, Drill Instructor Ortega, for the last time, dismiss this class.
Class 819!